Hello, welcome to Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Stephanie Soebbing, and I am here to teach you how to make block 7 in the Kaleidoscope Block of the Month series featuring Northcott Stonehenge Gradations. So we are into the corners where the color change is going to happen, sort of filming the kaleidoscope effect, which is what this is named for. And so we are using yellow and green for the next 3 months. You may be sick of it by the time we're done, but I promise it'll all look fabulous at the end. And if you love the way this quilt looks, then you will too. So we're going to go through real quick how to do the half square triangle because we went through it pretty in depth last month. And the instructions are the same. They haven't changed at all. So we're just going to go real quick through that and we'll show you how to do it. First, what you're going to do is you're going to draw a line from point to point on the wrong side of your fabric on half of your half square triangles. Then you're going to sew a scant 1/4 inch seam down both sides of that drawn line. Then you're going to cut it apart on the drawn line, then press the seam open, and then you're going to square it up according to the size in your pattern book. Now we're going to sew the quilt block together, and we're going to sew this together in rows, pressing our seams in opposite directions for each row so that we get those perfect joints and our triangles are exactly where they're supposed to be. So I've already set my machine back to a regular 1/4 inch stitch because we want to use that for the remainder of our sewing now that we're done with those half square triangles. And again, you can pin this, you certainly don't have to because we've trimmed everything up so it should be nice and perfect and really easy to sew together. So I usually just get everything started, then I line up my corners and sew all the way down. And I'm actually going to sew one entire row together at a time before I press anything. So to do that, I just keep grabbing them right sides together and work across the row. Then I can just give this a little bit of a trim here. And then what I always like to do is lay everything back out in the position it's supposed to be. And that way I can tell really quickly if I've screwed something up and put it in the wrong direction, which I certainly have in this case. We want to make sure that those or the yellow triangles are in the corners. I can figure this out. I swear I can, it's possible. What did I do here? I sewed something together wrong, so we'll have to fix that. This happens, even to the pros. So I'm going to seam rip and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I fixed my seam. Everything's going in the right direction. We now have completely illustrated the point of why you want to lay your fabrics back down, because sometimes you flip a triangle and you sew the wrong edge of a seam and it doesn't work if you do it that way. You won't get the desired results. So now I'm going to go ahead, now that I know everything is where it should be, I'm going to put these together to complete my row. And again, I'm still using that 1/4 inch seam all the way along, just like with most quilting. Alright, so it officially looks right. We've got our yellow triangles in the corners and this is going to be above that, and so it'll look like a giant piece pinwheel going out. So now we can go ahead and sew row 2 together in the same way. And then I'm going to show you how to press those in separate directions. Alright, so here's row 2, almost together. There we go. Get that going the right way. Alright, so now we need to sew this guy together. And this is a point, so we need to be a little bit more careful because we actually have to worry about where it belongs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those right sides together. And then what I do is I kind of hold it straight up and I make sure that my points are coming together. So if I actually open this up, I should see that my seams are right on top of each other and that they're lined up real nicely. So now that I know that that's the case, go ahead and put a pin in there. And that will hold it securely in place until I can get it in the sewing machine. Thankfully, there's only 2 seams where we really have to worry about that for this block, so there's not too much fussing with points. Okay, so we've got our top 2 rows together now, and so I'm going to show you how to press those in opposite directions and then sew them together so you end up with perfect points. Alright, so it really doesn't matter what direction you press these in, as long as you're pressing one side to the right and one side to the left, and then the next row with it again be to the right. So I'm just going to move this to the side here. And I'm just going to go ahead and press this up. Okay, so we've got that one in place. And so now when I lay this back out, these seams are going to the right, so I want these seams to go to the left. Okay. So now when you pin these together, you're going to get really great joins because our seams are going in opposite directions. So that's really great. So what you can do is just lock those seams in place and then put a little pin in there. And you're going to keep doing that all the way down the block. Now we talked about this in other videos, but when I'm sewing this, I'm going to go kind of slow as I'm coming up to my point. And then I'm going to sew just to the right of where my seam is for that triangle join, that center seam on the diagonal, and where the seam line hits. And that'll get my points in the right location when we press this open. Let's take a peek and see how we did. Pretty good. This one's pretty much right where it needs to be. This one, if I wanted to, I could just unpick from here to here and I could scooch this top part in a little, but I'm going to let it be because once it's quilted, you won't be able to really see that it was off just a hair because you'll have all that texture in there. So whenever I teach people in person and they ask me, you know, should I redo this? The answer is it going to bother you? And if it isn't, then just leave it be. This should be about enjoying the process, not about getting so frustrated because I have just a little hair of a triangle sticking out here. I mean, you certainly could, again, just pick from here to here and adjust that a little bit if you want, but I'm fine with it. I'm going to leave it be. Then I can make more quilts instead of fussing with little bits. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that process and sew my second 2 rows together, and then we're going to come back when it comes time to join that center, and I'll show you some tips and tricks for getting that pinwheel to be nice and tight with all of your points converging at the right location. So I have both my halves ready to go, and now I'm going to show you how to pin these together to make sure that this center seam is absolutely perfect and all your points are where they should be. Alright, so to get a perfect join here, we're going to use a 2 pinning method in order to make sure that these points end up exactly where they're supposed to be in the center. So the first thing I'm going to do is flip these guys right sides together. Now I'm going to take 1 pin and I'm going to insert it right in the seam allowance where these fabrics meet, which is where the point is going to be on the other side. And then I'm going to put it right through where the points meet here, and that's going to keep everything together and in the right spot. So now I'm pinching that so that that pin is vertical, and that keeps those points right in line while I stick the pin in the side, whereas if I would have wiggled this around to turn it to the side and pin it, then I would have really shifted those points. So this way keeps it right where we need it to be. Now I'm just going to pin my other seams to normal and put it through the sewing machine. Now we can sew these guys together and this block will be done. So exciting. Okay, so just like everything else, I'm going to slow down and I'm going to make sure that I sew just a hair to the right of where all those points converge. And I should make sure I don't cut off any tips when I sew them together. Get my corners lined up and sew to the end. Alright, now it's time to press it open and see how we did. See how that seam turned out. And I'm very happy with that. Those points are all converging nicely. We haven't lost a big tip. If you are not happy with how yours turned out, you can just pull it from here to here with your seam ripper, make any adjustments you need to, and sew it back together. But that's a really good tip in order to get those points where you want them to be. So that's it. This is block 7 of the Kaleidoscope Block of the Month. It's really pretty simple, pretty easy, just half square triangles, and we're only making 4 blocks for every month from now till the end of the block of the month. So, you know, you're in the home stretch. We're working on those setting corners, and it'll be really exciting. I really love how the color changes make this quilt look really complicated, but really it isn't. We're just sewing half square triangles, and that's easy peasy. Well, thank you so much for following along. If you would like to sew the Kaleidoscope Block of the Month, we have books available at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. Just click on the Quilt Addicts Anonymous patterns section, and you can see that and all the other patterns that I have designed. You can get the block there, and you can also sign up to do future Block of the Months with Quilt Addicts Anonymous. And you may be able to get it at your local quilt shop. This book and the Stonehenge Gradation fabrics are available at quilt shops across the U.S. and Canada. So see if it's at your local shop and support them. We definitely want to support all local quilt shops. But again, if you can't find it there, shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. You can pick it up there. Thanks so much for following along, and we'll see you next month for Block 8.